We just got the first info on the 5.3 banners, but it's tagged as sus. However, there is a very good chance that this banner lineup will be the real one. The info we have right now comes from Afudishiji, a source who doesn't have a track record, so take it with a grain of salt. Plus, it's pretty early, we're getting this info before the 5.3 beta even starts, which is unusual. But even though it's early, I think there's a chance these banners could be more accurate than you might expect. Save up to 20% on Xilonin and Chiori banners on lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description. So, let's dive in and talk about what's been revealed. All right, here's what we know. According to the latest info, the 5.3 banners will feature some exciting lineups. In the first phase, we're looking at Mavuika and Xianyun. Then, in the second phase, we have Citlali and Shenhe. Now, why might these banners be more accurate than you think, even if they're early? Well, here's the thing. Both Mavuika and Citlali are already confirmed to be in 5.3, and the reason is Playable Character's ID. For those unfamiliar, every playable character has a unique ID in the game's files, and the sequence can sometimes give us clues about upcoming releases. Here's what we know. The ID numbers of the Natlan characters go like this. The ID order is a big hint here. Notably, Mavuika, 106, and Citlali, 107, are listed consecutively, which strongly suggests they were planned to be released together. This ID sequence is one of the reasons why the speculation that both characters are coming in 5.3 feels so solid, despite us not being in the beta phase for 5.3 yet. Their IDs align perfectly for a joint release, reinforcing the idea that they'll both appear in the same update. Another important point, Capitano does not have a playable character ID. Currently, he's listed only as an NPC. This means it's highly unlikely we'll see him as a playable character during the Natlan storyline. While many players were excited for a potential Capitano release, the absence of a playable ID suggests he won't be showing up in our teams anytime soon, at least not in Natlan. Alright, let's talk about some new details about Mavuika's kit. Now, I have to be upfront, the source of this info is Jav91i, someone who doesn't have a track record in the Genshin community, so keep in mind that this info is still up in the air. But one thing's for sure, Mavuika is confirmed to be a 5-star Pyro character, and she's bringing some seriously unique mechanics to the table. Here's what we know. Her elemental skill lets her throw her weapon and enter a special state called Night Soul, which allows her to switch up her playstyle. We're talking about tossing fireballs, doing slashing attacks, and even hopping on a motorcycle. Yeah, you heard that right. The motorcycle can transform into a glider midair, which sounds pretty wild. Her elemental burst? It's described as a massive team buff, boosting everyone's attributes and giving them a rainbow-like glow. Even though the source is a bit sus, the one thing that's almost certainly accurate is that Mavuika's kit will feature her riding a bike. It's definitely something we've never seen in the game before, and I think it's safe to say that she's going to stand out. As for Citlali, she's a cryo character who brings a new support element to the table. Her elemental skill provides an elemental shield, while her elemental burst has off-field cryo capabilities, making her a solid choice for cryo reactions and team protection. Let's talk about the reruns. Both Xianyun and Shenhe are from Liyue, and 5.3 is going to be Lantern Rite, which is one of the biggest Liyue-themed events in Genshin. Having Liyue characters like Xianyun and Shenhe on the banner makes perfect sense given the theme of the patch. It's definitely something that could happen, especially since Shenhe hasn't had a rerun in a long time, and the timing feels right for her to return. One of the key patterns we've seen in Genshin Impact is that characters who participate in the main event of a version are often featured in the banners for that patch. This has been consistent across many updates, so it's a pattern worth noting when speculating about future releases. Since version 5.3 will feature the Lantern Rite, one of the biggest and most important events in the game, it's almost guaranteed that we'll see at least one limited character from Liyue included in the banners. It would be a huge surprise if there wasn't any Liyue character in the 5.3 banners, given that the Lantern Rite is a Liyue exclusive festival. Historically, we've always seen Liyue characters play a significant role during Lantern Rite events, and this year should be no different. So while some parts of the current leaks might be uncertain, the presence of Liyue characters is almost a given. The likelihood that Shenhe and Xianyun are making an appearance in the 5.3 banners fits perfectly with. Alright, let's dive into another big point about version 5.3, the return of the Liyue Chronicled Wish. This event brings back a chance to pull for some of the most loved Liyue characters, and we've got a few names already on the table. From what I've gathered, we're likely to see Xiao, Ganyu, Baizhu, and Yelan as limited, with standard characters like Qiki and Keqing potentially rounding out the pool. Now, I know what you're thinking. Could the Liyue Chronicled Wish count as the Liyue character presence for this patch? Well, technically it might, but I wouldn't bet on that being the only Liyue focus in 5.3. With the Lantern Rite being the centerpiece of the version, the chances are super high that we'll get at least one Liyue character in the limited event banners. So, while the Chronicled Wish will give us some solid Liyu options, I'm confident that we'll see someone from Liyue featured in the main banners too. It just wouldn't be Lantern Rite without a proper Liyu character banner, right? This only makes the speculated banners featuring Shenhe and Xianyun even more likely, fitting perfectly with everything we've seen during past Lantern Rites. Okay, so why should we consider this info even though it's really early? Well, the two new characters, Mavuika and Citlali, are confirmed for 5.3, which gives some weight to the banner predictions. Plus, with Lantern Rite being a Liyue-centered event, it's pretty logical to have Liyue characters like Xianyun and Shenhe back in the mix. The timing and theme of the update lineup, so it's not far-fetched to think this could be true. So if you're like me, you're probably wondering when we're going to get more concrete details about version 5.3. Well, mark your calendars for November 20th. That's when the 5.3 beta starts, and it's usually the moment when we start getting a clearer picture of what's coming next. This is when the leaks tend to heat up, so we're likely to get a first glimpse at Mavuika and Citlali's gameplay, which will give us a better idea of how these characters will fit into the meta. But that's not all. We might also get some early info on new skins, and there's been a lot of buzz suggesting that Yelan might finally be getting one. Plus, we'll see hints about the upcoming events and possibly even what free rewards to expect. Given how generous MiHoYo was during the anniversary, there's a solid chance that they might surprise us with even more rewards for Lantern Rite. So, yeah, November 20th is the date to keep an eye on if you want to get all the early info on 5.3. It's when everything starts to get more concrete, and we can finally see what's truly coming our way. As for 5.3 itself, it's set to release on January 1st, 2025, so it'll start on the new year. As for the special program, you can expect it to drop around December 20th, where we'll get official confirmation about what's coming, so if you're planning your pulls or want more solid info, keep an eye out for that date. That's all the new info we have on the 5.3 banners. Remember, this is still pretty early info, so things might change, but it's always fun to speculate and see what's on the horizon. I'll be updating you guys as soon as we get more concrete details. If you're excited about Mavuika, Citlali, or hoping for your favorite rerun, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. And if you want to save up to 20% on Genesis crystals, visit lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description.